Now, last night I said that when it comes to this virus, the federal and states have been running a kind of protection racket. On the whole, they won't criticise each other for how each are handling it. Very useful. But today, that ended. That's because another 6 Victorians died today from the virus, 4 in nursing homes. Effectively, 34 Victorians to die since Friday. 2/3 died in nursing homes, which should have been far better protected. And today, Premier Daniel Andrews made clear, not his fault. Blame the Morrison government. That funds these terrible places.
My mother is in her mid-70s. She has some underlying health issues, but she lives at home. Some of the stories we've seen are unacceptable. I would not let my mum be in some of these places. I cannot stand here and say to all Victorians that I have confidence in some of the arrangements in private sector aged care. I won't do that. But I won't also say this is not a matter for the Victorian government. We don't run this sector, but the residents in these homes are all Victorians. The Commonwealth Government have asked for help, and that is exactly what my government and our agencies will provide to them.
Health Minister Greg Hunt hit back within the hour.
My father lived in one, and we knew that meant he was in the latest stages of his life. I cannot imagine better care that my family and my father could have got. And I speak, I think, for hundreds of thousands of families around the country. So yes, and the idea that our carers, that our nurses are not providing that care, I think is a dangerous statement to make. They are wonderful human beings, and I won't hear a word against them.
Plus, the Federal Minister said, let's remember how this virus got out in the first place.
Let us go back to the source of this. A massive breach of hotel quarantine. Over nearly 7,000 Victorians have been infected just this month. That goes to all parts of that society, but it's absolutely critical not to pretend that anybody, any system is immune once you have a major community outbreak.
That is right. The virus got out from the quarantine hotels and the Victorian government is running so ineptly, to put it mildly. And Hunt also attacked some public hospitals, which the Victorian government runs, for refusing to take in aged care residents who now needed to be evacuated.
We had a very concerning report yesterday from Bupa, a major provider, that they had had extreme difficulty getting patients into public hospital. That's not acceptable. The beds are available, the workforce is available.
Joining me is Deputy Prime Minister Michael McCormack. Deputy Prime Minister, thank you so much indeed for being on the show. Appreciate it. First, can I go back to the Black Lives Matter protest? No political leader has yet said, no, David Dungay was not murdered. No, our police force does not murder Aborigines. And no, Aborigines in jail are not more likely than whites to die there. This Black Lives Matter movement here is based on falsehoods. What do you say?
Well, you probably haven't been reading all of my transcripts, Andrew, because I have stuck up steadfastly for the police. They do a wonderful job. And when we have an incident or a disaster, the police, New South Wales police, any state police, well, they run to the emergency, whereas other people, the likes of Paddy Gibson, etc., they run completely the other way. Our police do a wonderful job. To have the left call for the police force to be defunded is just ridiculous. I've seen so many commentators actually call for the police to be defunded. Well, how stupid is that? Now, the police do a wonderful job. They are under great pressure. And certainly I know that during some of these protests, the protesters actually goad the police. They video the police and try to get some sort of reaction, whereas the police are just there doing their job, safeguarding society as they always do.
Good stuff. To Victoria, the Premier is saying not his fault. These old aged care homes, they were federally funded and he wouldn't send his mum to some of them. And now is going to have to step in and help you guys sort out this terrible mess. Did the Morrison government stuff up?
I know that Greg Hunt has today set up what really is a SWAT team, a task force, a response centre to ensure that everything is as it should be. But right the way through, we have been making sure that everything that we've provided at a Commonwealth level, help for states and protection for people, has been what it should be. Greg Hunter's right when he said that the staff in these facilities are doing a great job, because they do every day, every night. And look, that's why we have got an Aged Care Royal Commission. We are looking into this whole industry, this whole sector of society. We want to make sure that those most vulnerable members of our society who have contributed so much to their communities are looked at, looked for, looked after in the twilight of their lives. We want to make sure that our aged care facilities are what they should be, and that's why to make sure that we go to that nth degree, Minister Hunt has set up that response centre today. We will do everything that we can to ensure that our aged care facilities are what they should be, and indeed we provide the Victorian government and indeed the state with the services and support it needs in this time of crisis.
But you mentioned the SWAT team that was set up just today. We've known for 6 months that this is a virus that kills predominantly the elderly. We've known for 3-4 months that it rips through nursing homes, as done overseas in Europe and in America, in New York in particular, and also in Sydney. Are you a bit disappointed it's only in the last 2 weeks that the Morrison government and the state of Victoria has cracked down on visitors to these homes here, demanded that masks be worn inside these homes, stepped up testing, moved to stop staff from working across several homes at once? Why only in the last 2 weeks?
Well, we've had, Andrew, we've had the appropriate measures in place, and we certainly have had those through the National Cabinet process, restricting visitation numbers to aged care centres, making sure that we've provided the right personal protection equipment, the right masks, and putting in the right protocols. And we've done that through the National Cabinet process. We didn't realise,
in the last 2 weeks, that's what I'm saying. In the last 2 weeks is when you've had announcements. I showed them last night.
No, this has been going for many, many months. We've had the visitor restriction numbers. We've had all of those things in place through the National Cabinet process months ago. We've had that in place. Of course, we didn't expect us to have this outbreak, which was caused by
it was only 2 weeks
guards.
ago that you said masks were obligatory for staff. It's only in the last week or so that visitors have been told you've got to mask up. I mean, I've showed a number of press releases from the government just in the last 2 weeks of stepping all this up.
We were taking the right advice from the expert medical team, from the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee. We've taken the right advice from that committee right the way through. And up until probably the last couple of weeks, Andrew, we've done very, very well. We'll still, even despite the 384 cases and sadly the 6 deaths today, on a world scale, we've still done very, very well. But we need Australians to be their best selves. We thank them for what they've done so far, but we still need them to download the COVID Safe app. We still need them to, if they are in quarantine, then do the right thing. And if they have been asked to self-isolate, well, for God's sake, do it. It's not that hard to protect yourself and, moreover, protect our vulnerable members of our community. People you may not even know, but you have to care for them. You have to care for your community. So if you've been asked to do something, then for goodness sake, do it.
And just finally, you heard there Daniel Andrews, Premier of Victoria, shoving the blame on the feds. You, in turn, must be extremely frustrated with the Andrews government, its handling of this, how the virus got out.
Well, I think we're all disappointed that there's been this outbreak in Victoria, but I'm not going to continue the blame game. What we need to do now is work together, collaboratively and cooperatively, to make sure that we contain and minimise this outbreak and get through it. Get the borders reopened, because let me tell you, for seasonal workers, for people trying to, particularly in regional Australia, just get on with their lives, this has been a huge setback.
It sure has. Michael McCormack, thank you so much for joining me.
Anytime at all, Andrew.